guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to bring you something a little bit different. This is a miraculous tale of survival of a young gentleman by the name of Odjegba Okene. He is the accidental aquanaut who survived underwater at the bottom of the sea for 3 whole days before being rescued. And you're probably wondering, how on earth did he do that? Well, this is the story I'm bringing you today. So our story begins on the 26th of May 2013, and Harrison is working on board a tugboat by the name of Jackson 4. He is actually the chef on board, and he's also on there with 11 crew members. There are 10 Nigerians, a Ukrainian captain, and of the Nigerian crew there are actually 4 young cadets there from the Nigerian Maritime Association, so 4 very young guys there. So they were tasked with stabilising an oil tanker on a Chevron platform in very heavy seas in the Gulf of Guinea, which was about 23 miles off the Nigerian coast. Now it's 4:30 in the morning, and Harrison is a very early riser. He thinks, I need to get up, I need to start the day and start getting breakfast ready for the rest of the crew. The rest of the crew were already in their bunks, ready in their cabins. The doors were locked, which was normal procedure within that area, which was known to have pirates that actually roamed in those waters, so that was procedure, lock yourself in your cabin. But Harrison was out of his cabin and was the only one that was out that morning when at 4:30 a.m. the boat was suddenly upended, was capsized. This is said to have been by a rogue heavy wave. There are different reports on different sites, but regardless, the boat is upended and they start to sink. Harrison in the very small bathroom is tossed all around. Things are falling on his head. He's in a panic. He's wondering what's happening. His crew members could be heard shouting, "We're going down, what's happening? Help, help me." And he can hear all this noise and kerfuffle going on around him. The shouts of his crew members would come to a stop. And Harrison makes his way out of the bathroom in complete darkness. He's obviously at the bottom of the seabed. The sun doesn't reach there, the heat of the sun doesn't reach there, so it's going to be extremely cold, it's going to be completely dark. He knows the boat very well, and he's groping along the cabin walls trying to find his way, and he manages to get himself into an engineer's cabin. On the way he manages to find 2 flashlights, a life vest and a bottle of Coca-Cola. As Harrison is in that engineer's office, he's obviously extremely cold, he's extremely frightened. He had been getting ready for the day, so he was only wearing his boxer shorts. He was extremely cold. The water was starting to rise in the cabin, and he did realise that if he didn't do something, he was going to succumb to hypothermia within a few short hours. He managed to actually fashion a platform out of mattresses and other materials, so he managed to lift himself most of his torso completely out of the water, which most probably is what saved him from succumbing to hypothermia. As he sat alone in the cabin, he had that 1 bottle of Coke to drink to sustain him, wondering, was anyone going to get him, realising that he was at the bottom of the sea, and surely everyone's going to think that he has perished. But all he could do was sit there and wait and hope that someone would come to his rescue. As the first 24 hours passed, both flashlights failed, and he was left in complete and utter darkness. A darkness that me or you have probably never experienced. And he must have been terrified. The thought of what that poor man must have gone through. He thought about his family, about his wife that he had yet to father a child with, about his parents, and he quoted Bible verse that his wife had sent him in a recent message. He was a man of faith, he had a great deal of faith, and he promised in that moment God that if he got out of this situation, that he would never ever return to sea ever again. So the first day has passed, and he can hear sounds around him of things being torn, of crunching, and it's with a horrible realisation that he realises that he's perhaps listening to his crew members being devoured by sharks or other creatures at the bottom of the sea. Unbeknown to Harrison, there was a Dutch diving company, DCN Diving, working just 70 miles away, and they were sent down to the tugboat on a mission purely to retrieve the dead bodies and bring them back to the surface. So this is when Okene hears a sound which is the unmistakable sound of a boat engine and an anchor drop, and he realises that someone has become aware of their plight, but obviously they're not going to expect that he's alive, and with the actual size of the boat, he's in a lot of doubt that they will actually find him at all. He said that he could hear them moving, but it was clear they were very far away from him. Unbeknown to Harrison, the divers had already actually retrieved and returned 4 bodies of his crewmates to the surface, and were on the recovery for the rest. So Harrison needed to find a way to alert the divers to his presence. He actually has the presence of mind to strip back the cabin walls to the bare steel, and he has a hammer in there with him, and he starts to hammer on that wall to attract the attention of the divers. Now, it's not clear if they did actually hear this, but at one stage one of the divers actually entered the chamber that Harrison was in. Now remember, it is extremely dark, it's just complete blackness. Harrison could see the bubbles, he could hear him, he knew he was there, but unfortunately the diver wasn't aware of Harrison's presence, and he turns and he leaves the chamber, leaving Harrison behind. He has to at this stage decide, does he leave the relative safety of his air bubble within the chamber to follow the diver, risking obviously that he's maybe not going to be able to get back, he's going to run out of oxygen, or does he stay and wait and hope that they return? Now, it's important to know also that the area that Harrison was inside was actually 4 foot. It was a very small area, and there's not just the danger of running out of oxygen in that area. The actual more pressing danger is the build-up of carbon dioxide within that area, which would very, very quickly render him unconscious, and it was getting to critical levels at this stage. Levels that Harrison would not be able to survive for much longer. So the levels at which carbon dioxide actually becomes fatal to humans is around 5%, and this would have built up extremely quickly for Harrison. But again, things seem to be on his side. The movement and the lapping of the water around him was actually increasing the water's surface area and was dealing with the absorption of carbon dioxide, but still it would not have been much longer that Harrison would have had oxygen, would have been able to keep down that build-up of carbon dioxide. We also have the incredible pressure that his lungs must have been experiencing right at the bottom of the ocean, and the possible danger also of nitrogen build-up. So then we haven't even discussed hypothermia. He was there at the bottom of the sea in very, very cold temperatures in a pair of boxer shorts. So not a lot is going Harrison's way at the moment. It can be said he is incredibly lucky to have survived this long, but the elements are working against him now, and he realises in that moment where he must make that decision to follow that diver, to stay where he is. One decision means he may run out of oxygen, he may not get back. The other decision means that he has to stay there, and he will surely eventually perish when all of these factors come into play. He decides to stay put and hope that that diver comes back into the area and is aware of him. And thankfully for Harrison, the diver does indeed return to the area. This rescue is all amazingly caught on camera. The reaction of that diver when he is made aware of Harrison's presence also is on camera, and it is amazing to watch. The diver is actually in a position where he has his back to Harrison, and Harrison very slowly starts to approach him from behind, unsure really how to make this diver aware of his presence, and he reaches out an arm and he touches the diver on the back of the neck. This is all captured on camera. The diver is very, very much taken back by this, and he automatically makes the assumption that it is another corpse. And he shouts through the recording to his mates in the actual boat above on the surface, "I found another corpse," and he reaches out his hand to grab the corpse to pull it forward, and Harrison's hand closes around his, and he realises that this man is actually alive. 3 days at the bottom of the ocean, and he has found a survivor. And he shouts in great excitement and a bit of fear, "He's alive, he's alive." And you can hear the reaction on camera of the crew above and the determination that they have to return Harrison to the surface.
Ceiling, yeah? Okay. What's that? Okay. That's horrible. Alright, you found one, yeah? He's alive, he's alive! Okay, keep him there. Alright. Alright, just hold him there, okay? Just keep him there.
Footage of the miraculous moment that a Nigerian man is discovered who'd been trapped under an upturned boat for nearly 3 days.
Just reassure him, pat him on the shoulder. Okay. Alright. Alright, show him the harness.
Put this one on.
After days spent in the freezing cold water, 29-year-old Harrison Okene was sure he was going to die before a torch pierced the darkness.
Water.
Drink it, buddy, drink it. He hasn't drunken much, eh?
No, it's almost finished.
Oh, he's almost finished it. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Alright, tell him to... What's wrong with him?
He says it's cold.
What's cold? The water?
The water cold. Yeah, he says the water's cold.
Alright, get him out of the water. We don't want hypothermia.
Okay.
Okene, who was a cook on board a tugboat that capsized off the Nigerian coast, survived his ordeal by breathing inside a 4-foot-high air bubble as it shrunk in the waters, slowly rising from the ceiling of the tiny toilet where he sought refuge.
We're putting the hat on so you can breathe, okay? Alright, now you mustn't panic, eh? You must listen to me, alright? Alright. We're going to take you in the water and we're going to take you to the bell, okay? And then we're going to bring you home, okay?
And so begins the ascent. Obviously most people are aware of the need to decompress before returning to the surface. So first of all, the diver actually gives Harrison some hot water to actually drink to warm up with. Harrison does say later that the diver was watching him very, very carefully as he was drinking this water, almost like he wasn't sure if Harrison was actually human, and he was watching him very closely. There is a culture in this area of things, you know, of black magic, of things not being entirely explainable, so the diver was a bit freaked out originally by Harrison. At least that's what Harrison said afterwards. So he has a drink and the diver gives him a helmet to use, explains what to do. Now remember, we had a crew of 11 and the only one that has survived from that crew when they ask his rank is the chef. It's probably the one with the least amount of training on that actual vessel. So the diver and Harrison begin the ascent upwards, where they must also spend further time within a decompression chamber before taking Harrison up to the surface. And when they come to the surface, Harrison says he remembers looking up at the night sky and seeing stars and thinking, I've been down there for a whole day, because obviously it was 4:30 in the morning when he was last aware of it being a specific time. And it was only after that he was actually told, no, you spent 3 days at the bottom of the ocean, that he couldn't quite even comprehend himself how he had survived. His wife had actually at this stage already been told that her husband hadn't survived. All of the crew's family members had been advised that their family members had died, so she was obviously overjoyed that Harrison had managed to survive his ordeal. And Harrison kept his promise. He took a job as a chef on dry land and he vowed never to return to the sea, and he has kept that to this day. Unfortunately, he is still plagued with nightmares and very often wakes up from his sleep and is convinced that the bed, there's rising water, the bed is sinking into water. So this ordeal has obviously stayed with Harrison a long time after having gone through it. When he actually went to speak to his pastor, as I already did say, Harrison was a man of great faith, and he explained what had happened. His pastor actually asked him if he had used black magic to survive, and he was very taken back and shocked when a man of faith, that his pastor, had actually suggested he had used black magic. I think this was one of the deciding factors that Harrison did actually avoid the funerals of all of his crewmates, because he was pretty sure that the family of these men would not want to see the one survivor wondering how he survived, and with a lot of people in the area surmising that black magic had something to do with Harrison's survival.
Alright.
The lights went off and the vessel capsized. And I was there trying to, and the WC fell on my head and tear my head. And I was there struggling on how I can be able to open the door. When I was right there in the water, when I have access to nothing, right down inside the water, I thought of my family, thought of my mom, my brothers, my wife. I have access to none of them, no way to get to them. And I was right there in the water and I know I'm going to die. But the only thing I could put my hope and trust in and my confidence in is God. I don't know it's up to 3 days because I was thinking it's just a day, maybe it's getting to the evening. I was on there, keep on praying. When I prayed for some time, I stopped. And I said, God, let that will be done as it is in heaven, because I have tried my best. And I have called on you and you have never failed me before. And you will never fail me at all in my life. So as I said that, to me, if death comes, let it come. If death did not come, I know He's going to rescue me. So as I was there like that, I kept calm, and I was bold because I was not afraid anymore, because I know it's life and death. The line is already drawn. If you want to come, let it come.
What's your name? Harrison.
I'm sure you'll agree this was an astonishing story of survival, and it is something of a mystery as to how Harrison managed to survive all that time. Had he not been out of bed at 4:30 to start breakfast for his crewmates, he would most probably have perished in the same manner that they did. So I hope you enjoyed Harrison's story. If there are any other stories you would like me to go into, anything that you're curious about, pop them below in the comments. I'm very happy to discuss any suggestions, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Over and out from Lisa Lives.